Am I the asshole for not helping my brother with his daughters when his wife left him? I, F30, is single and child-free by choice. I date occasionally but no long-term relationships. This is due to many reasons, like I love my freedom. I want to enjoy my life unencumbered with responsibilities and want to really focus on my career. My older brother, M34, got married when he was 26. He has 2 kids, F7, F4. They had a traditional household. He wanted a partner who stayed home and looked after the family while he earned. She had apparently dreamed of being a homemaker and taking care of children. But during last couple of years she showed signs of hating it. She wanted to study more and work outside. Build something of her own. But my brother refused to step up or help. I warned him once, but he told me it's none of my business how he runs his household. I kept my mouth shut since. His wife left him a month ago. She just wrote him a letter saying she can't do this and want to explore her life. She left kids with him and basically vanished. We have no idea where she is. Thing is, my brother doesn't know how to do even the most basic things. He is the kind of guy who never changed a diaper or toasted bread. The moment my brother found that his wife left, he called my mother, who rushed in to save the day. She thought it was short term and my Sil would be back, but she hasn't. My father is unwell and needs her home soon. They live hours away. My brother suggested she take kids home with her. My dad said no. He is retired and they are both getting old. He does not want to have kids in the house full time, taking up her time and energy. Since that was a no-go, my brother asked me to either move in with them to help out or take kids in with me. I refused. From what I see, he is a grown adult and these kids are his responsibility. I made a choice to live the way I do and I do not want to sacrifice my life for his choices. My family is pressuring me onto this, saying stuff like how my brother does not know how to take care of kids. The little girls need a woman in their life. How family helps family, etc. My brother is calling me cold-hearted for not even trying to help him. Am I the asshole? Is she okay? In the post I had given, no one knew where she is based on info I was given by my mother. She told me they had communicated with Sil's parents as well. Hearing that she had taken all her documents and per her note, I trusted she had gone somewhere where she can study and make something of herself. But a lot of comments had me questioning about it all. Many of you wanted me to file report as missing person. What I realized is, me and my parents not filing it made sense. We know and trust my brother. But why didn't my SIL's parents file a report? They should have been more suspicious, right? So I called SIL's mom. She didn't sound worried or sad, so I was more suspicious. I asked if she knew where Sil is. She said they don't know, Sil did not say anything to them, etc. I told her I would be filing report today then, so we know she is safe. Her mom panicked at that and told me not to. That Sil will come home when she is ready. I told her I have to file report unless I know she is safe. She kept insisting I don't have to. It was very suspicious. 5 minutes after my call, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Sil. She was panicking and more or less begged me not to file a report. Turns out she was in another state, crashing with distant family. She really did want to go to college and my brother was not letting her. She had a huge fight with him about all that the week before she left. She was really depressed and feeling stuck. Her parents loaned her some cash through a church friend who also helped her go away. She begged me not to file report, saying he will sue her for child support and she can barely support herself and go to college. I told her abandoning her kids was wrong. She was crying when she said she know and hope they can forgive her. She really couldn't live this life anymore. Leaving them was the hardest decision she ever made, but she felt it was better than taking them and letting them starve with her. At least here they have home and family. I did ask why she couldn't just divorce my brother then. She said she did not have money for lawyer or anything. No home to return to. She is not proud of it, but she just couldn't stay and fight. She did not tell me where exactly she is. Did not want to risk it. Asked me not to give her number to my family. I did tell her situation with her kids. She just said my brother will figure it out. She cannot help in any way right now. She will come back to her babies when she can. Necessity is the mother of invention, as the saying goes. He will have to learn quickly as is his duty and responsibility as a father. How did he get to be so chauvinistic in this era? Not the asshole. We are also child-free by choice. While I would help where I could, I live 6 hours away from my sibling with kids and would not take in the kids nor move in if I were put in the same position. It's not a reasonable ask. Also, you warned him and he told you to butt out. So listen to him. Butt out. Not the asshole, those poor girls though. He could have avoided all this by not being so controlling and misogynistic in the first place. Not the asshole in the slightest. How can they think this is okay to dump on you? You have a career just as he does. He can get a nanny and be done with it. Not the asshole. He choose not to bend, change, or compromise. It's not your job or responsibility to step up when his choices are what led to this position. Maybe being forced to bend will change him for the better. Maybe. Am I the asshole for being upset my friend of 20+ years was in my country, but didn't tell me? I, 43F, have known Craig, 41M, for over 20 years. We became roommates, then became best friends. He met Becky about 12 years ago. She and I tried to be friends, but we just didn't care for the other very much, which was fine. She didn't care if we hung out, and so we did regularly, probably once a week. This primarily consisted of drinking and watching horror movies, because we both love them. Things got a bit more difficult when he moved to another state, but we still managed to do Zoom movie nights, which worked for years. We also hung out when we were both back in our home state maybe once a year, sometimes twice. We messaged regularly and were able to maintain a pretty great friendship. Things got even more difficult when I moved to Europe. Now, the time difference was crazy, so trying to do Zoom movies was a challenge. I got busy with work and a ton of things and wasn't really messaging as much, and so we haven't really talked a lot for the last year or so. I got married this year and invited him, but I was very clear that I wouldn't be upset if Americans couldn't come, because I knew it was a huge expense to come all the way to Europe. In the end, about 15 people from America came, which is lovely and more than I expected. He told me that they couldn't afford to come at the moment. Totally fine. A lot of people said that, and I get it. I personally hate destination weddings, and even though I live here, it's still a destination for them. About 2 weeks before the wedding he told me that he was going to be coming to another country in Europe. The same month that I got married. I was a bit upset, but then realized I was being a bridezilla about it, so I let it go. But then, a month after the wedding he told me that he was actually in my country just a couple hours away from where I live and that he had been here for a couple weeks. They were visiting because Becky had lived in this city for a year around a decade ago. I was honestly really upset and really hurt, and I told him that it was ridiculous that he didn't message me to say he was here. I would have happily gone to their city and wouldn't have expected him to come here because it would have been another expense. Then he tells me that he's basically been keeping our friendship alive for the last 6 months to a year and that he didn't feel that he needed to tell me because if I wasn't going to put in the effort, why should he? The thing is, I've been incredibly busy. I did an exhibition for my business which I'm trying to build. I also work quite a bit. And then we were having the wedding with house guests, and we're trying to have a baby through IVF. I told him that a 20+ year friendship should be strong enough to go a few months without talking, but he's really upset with me. I'm really upset with him because he came to this country and didn't even tell me. We're supposed to talk about it, but I'm just so upset still and I need a little outside perspective. Am I the asshole? ETA. 1. He was aware that I was extremely busy for that time, as I told him and everyone else. 2. He was also aware that after the wedding, almost everything I was doing would be much lighter. My job changed, 50-hour weeks went to 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. The requirements for my business are much less, no more exhibition. The wedding is over. The house is finished. No guests. No plans for the foreseeable future exempt IVF, which isn't that time-consuming now. For these reasons, I would have had plenty of time to visit him after the wedding, everything else was over. 3. Becky and I don't hate each other, we just aren't friends. We're perfectly capable of hanging out for a day without any drama. 4. They were in the city in my country for weeks. I would have offered to come there, so they wouldn't have any expense, or I would have offered to put them up for however long they wanted here, if they wanted it. I would not have been upset if they wanted to stay in the city they were in. 5. He told me he was in this country after he was already home. ETA because the timeline seems unclear. I invited him to the wedding last year, he said they couldn't afford to come to Europe. Then, about 2 months before the wedding, he told me he was going to a different country in Europe. Then after the wedding, when I messaged to see how his trip was, he told me he had also been in my country for 2-3 weeks. Not the asshole, but I'd consider this friendship over. In your country for weeks and didn't tell you? That's no friend. Nah. Your friend is allowed to state their needs in a friendship, and you're equally allowed to meet or not meet those needs. It sucks, but but sometimes you drift away from the person you imagined yourself at the finish line with. It's a cruel, unforgiving and harsh truth. Yes, you are. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for putting a band-aid on a child who hurt themselves? Recently, I was playing chess with a friend at a park, community plaza. There's a lot of these where I live in Central Europe. She and I noticed that a child around the age of 5 had fallen badly, scrapped up one of his knees and was crying. His mother was sitting in the vicinity, drinking and chatting away with her friend. When the child went up to her to show what had happened, the mom said it would be fine and waved him away to continue playing. Instead, he just moped around in the vicinity and kept looking at his scraped knee. Seeing this, my friend and I waved him over to where we were playing chess. I happened to have a small band-aid, plaster as they're called here, kit in my backpack. When I was very young, I was a lifeguard, so I have a lot of experience interacting with small children who hurt themselves. We assured him everything was okay. I quickly disinfected the wound and put a band-aid on his knee. My friend had some Kinder chocolate with her, so she gave him a piece and all was well. Or so we thought. Next thing we knew, the mother came over to us and screamed at us for interacting with her child. That we shouldn't interfere with her parenting and interject with other people's kids. She threw the Kinder chocolate back onto our table, knocking over a bunch of our chess pieces. We were both shocked at the response, so we ended up leaving and not even finishing our chess game. The mother screaming at us really shook me. Am I the asshole for bandaging up the kid? It's left me unsure of what to do in case I encounter a situation like this in the future and whether I should come to a stranger's assistance. Edit 1. Thanks y'all for the feedback. It wasn't my intention to overstep the mom. However, it was obvious to us that she was more interested in chatting with her friend. We were playing chess and having a moping, sniffling child near us was tough to ignore. I know my friend's biological clock is ticking as she's trying to start a family with her partner, and I guess her maternal instincts kicked in. I genuinely thought it was the quickest solution to remedy a simple problem. I'll show all these comments to my friend as well. Food plus approach tips noted. Edit 2. Wow, I didn't imagine my first post on Reddit would receive so many views. I showed the post to my friend during lunchtime and she was also taken aback by some of the nasty and assumptive comments. To clarify, I was the first one to step away as I don't like confrontation from personal events that have happened in my life. The mother was yelling at us in German and my friend, who's a native speaker, stayed behind a bit longer and I watched the three of them from a distance. I learned today after showing her the thread, that the mother had one too many glasses of wine and her friend whom she was chatting with walked over and was defending us on our behalf, asking the mother to calm down. I can't imagine parenting being easy and I empathize with whatever might be going on in that mother's life. Thanks to everyone who gave positive feedback and support. Update. Hi y'all. This will likely be my last update. I live next to this park and pass through it every day from work. This evening on my way home, I happened to see the mother and her child playing in the park. After reading all the mixed comments throughout today, I immediately began walking towards them to apologize and surprisingly, once the mother saw me, she also began making her way towards me. Before I could speak, the mother introduced herself and apologized for her reaction the other day. Surprised Pikachu face. As we spoke a little more, she explained that currently she's in the midst of a messy separation with her ex-husband. The way she framed it, when she saw me, fathering her child, there was a bit of pent-up bitterness which boiled over. I accepted her apology and now have also made a new acquaintance in the neighborhood. I wished her all the best as we left and genuinely hope everything works out for both her and her son. For my own takeaway, I'll approach things differently in the future if I happen to find myself in a similar situation again. Anyhow, thanks again to all the great Redditors that left positive plus constructive feedback. For all the salty ones, you know who you are. Stay salty and bitter, you deserve it, all of it. You are the asshole. Mom is right. You are wrong. Where do you a stranger come off thinking that undermining another parent is okay? Scraped knees happen and most parents wouldn't make a big fuss over a scraped knee. You also gave a child you don't know sweets. You don't know if the child is diabetic or has allergies. Mom doesn't know whether the interfering strangers may have tampered with the sweets. Also, mom was not far away from you. Why didn't you tell her what you were thinking of doing and ask her if she's okay with it, instead of going over her head and calling the child to you? You are the asshole but gently and with good intentions. You could have gone over to the mom, offered her the use of your plaster case and/or offered to bandage up the kid with permission. Giving the child chocolate was not a smart move though, and I do understand why the mom would be mad at that. He could have severe allergies that you are not aware of. You are the asshole. I know your intentions were good, but you shouldn't have gone near that child without asking the mother. It's also worth mentioning that some people can have bad reactions to plasters, so you should never put one on someone you don't know. What if the child was a type 1 diabetic? Did you ask the parent if chocolate was okay? What if they were allergic to chocolate or the bandage? You need to consider these things first. Not cool. Not the asshole, op. Maybe if mom had paid attention sooner, you never would have been involved. Am I the asshole for not allowing my niece to bring any of her toys to my house? The people involved. My husband Dan and I. We've been together 4 years. My step-daughter Ava, 6. She's with us about 75% of the time. My sister Kat and Kat's daughter May, 8. Kat was in a bad car accident recently and has a few months of recovery ahead of her. She's mostly bed-bound at the moment, but she is home and expected to make a full recovery. Her boyfriend is taking care of her, but it's a newish relationship and everyone felt more comfortable if May stayed with my parents until Kat was at least independently mobile, and because of their schedule, I will end up taking May on Saturdays and occasional Sundays. I feel Kat is too permissive with May and it's led to her being spoiled. She's not too bad, she is a sweet kid, but she's also very entitled and a strong believer of, what's mine is mine and what's yours is also mine, and tends to get pushy and mean if she doesn't get her way. The girls have known each other for over half their lives by now, and I've seen this play out over and over before. They get along well most of the time, and Ava has been very good about sharing her things but gets frustrated when May brings her Switch or American Girl doll over and then doesn't let her play, so she in turn refuses to share too, and then May has a fit. This has become more frequent, since before the accident. Kat's always said, well, she doesn't have to share her things, and sure, but neither does Ava, and we've all seen what happens when she doesn't. And Kat dismisses it every time. Of course Ava doesn't want to share when that happens. She's old enough to see that May isn't fair to her, but she can't understand why. I knew this would be a problem between them if May brought over any of her special items, but Ava is fine sharing when May isn't dangling something in front of her. So Dan and I prevented it. She just isn't allowed to bring toys or electronics over at all. My parents mentioned it and Kat is furious and has been calling to tell me how unfair we are. That we're punishing her daughter for not letting people walk all over her and that I was undermining her lessons on being assertive. She said she didn't spend her money on things for other kids to play with and that I wasn't a real mom, so I couldn't understand. I got upset and told her that if she wasn't going to teach her kid to treat others the way she insisted on being treated, then this is what it had to be. Ava's feelings matter too, and this will eventually sour their whole relationship. And we're trying to mitigate that until she does her F-king job. We kept arguing and I told her that if she had a problem with my rules, she could come over and do something about it, which she can't, or she could STFU. And then we ended up just yelling and calling each other names until I hung up. I'm still mad and obviously Dan agrees with me, but my mom is guilting me about stressing Kat while she's recovering and essentially calling her a bad mother, and Kat definitely called me worse things than an asshole, so I'm curious what the objective opinion is. Not the asshole. Your sister is teaching her daughter to be a mean bully. Not the asshole. Not sharing prized items is a good thing to teach kids, but it's also important to teach them not to lord those possessions over other children. It's a delicate balance that I feel OP is navigating quite well. Kat should be grateful for the free childcare. Not the asshole. It is no fun, at any age, for someone, friend or family, to dangle their new or more expensive toys in your face and not want to share. Also to be told, you need to share your things with so-and-so, but then so-and-so doesn't have to share their things, also infuriating at any age. Not the asshole in this scenario, but you are an asshole for letting it go on so long and not protecting your daughter. She should feel safe in her home and not bullied. In Ta.